This boy hated magical girls so much that he became one himself just to show them how it's really done. This is a world filled with monster threats appearing at any time, and the only ones with the power to stop these creatures are the magical girls, since conventional weapons had no effect on those creatures. But the problem with magical girls was that these girls only relied on long-range attacks to fight these monsters, while most monsters came with built-in anti-magic shield. So every battle turned into the same old song and dance, girls running around the entire city, kidding the monsters for hours until their shields finally gave out, just to land one flashy finishing blow at the end. But this strategy always led to massive property damage and injured citizens. And even if people wanted to complain, the bureau responsible for these magical girls always delayed compensation so long that most gave up halfway through the line. As for the magical girls, after causing all that mayhem, all they did was strike their signature pose in front of the camera to reassure the citizens, as if that actually fixed anything. But one fateful day, all that changed. Because one of those magical girls happened to blow up a motorcycle belonging to a kid named Jang Sai, a failed manga artist still trying to make it big using what little talent he had, and that was the last straw. Just then, he heard a voice from the side asking if he would like to become a magical girl. Turns out it was a clueless contractor who mistook Jang Sai for a girl, but quickly realizing his mistake, he apologized and prepared to leave. But there was no way Jang Sai would let such a golden opportunity slip by. After some light threats and aggressive persuasion, Jang Sai forced Amyo to hand over a magical heart. The magical heart was said to sense the inner desires of young girls and awaken their magical potential, which meant it should be impossible for a boy to use. But somehow, it reacted to Jang Sai, and in a burst of dazzling lights, swirling sparkles, flashy effects, and all that magical girl nonsense, Jang Sai transformed into a magical girl, and his very first thought after putting on a skirt, time to show these girls how a man deals with monsters. Meanwhile, in the distance, the pink-haired magical girl responsible for the destruction of his bike had fallen into a desperate situation. Her leg was pinned under rubble and she was unable to free herself anymore. With no way out and death looming over her head, the girl prepared to detonate her magical heart and bring down the massive monster along with her. But just then, a white-haired magical girl appeared right in front of her. The girl mistook her for reinforcements, but then her eyes landed on the cross on her head and she realized she was just a support-type newbie. Desperate, the girl shouted for her to escape this place while she still had the chance, since she had a plan to take out this monster. But by then, the monster was already in range to crush her under its fist. But to her surprise, the rookie girl easily managed to dodge the attack and leaped straight towards the monster. Using the creature's body as a foothold, she leaped into the air, and to the girl's amazement, as soon as the newbie got in range, she activated her powers. With that, a thunderbolt started to manifest in her hand. As soon as she was ready, she hurled the powerful projectile straight toward the monster, and what came next shocked both the pink-haired girl and the little squirrel thing. They watched in amazement as the rookie's attack pierced through the massive shield and went straight through the creature's chest, driving it into the ground. Before they could even blink, the fight was already over. The squirrel thing was dumbfounded, seeing a support-type rookie take out a B3 level mutant beast with one attack. Our hero reminded the thing that taking out all the enemies is the best kind of support. Next, bam, without any warning, Jang Sai casually sucker-punched the creature on its head for being too annoying with its cutesy talk, and told it to stop saying meow after every sentence. As for the creature, it lashed out at the kid, reminding him that he was the official contractor, and Jang Sai was supposed to obey him. Without his help, Jang Sai could forget about getting stronger. He even added that his magic was ineffective against contractors, trying to sound intimidating. Next panel, the poor guy was on his knees, completely battered up after the friendly discussion session with our hero. Turns out he was right about his magic not working against contractors, but apparently fists were still an option. He even laid out all the power-up items he had in his possession. Going through them, one particular item caught our boy's eye, and he asked the creature what it was supposed to be. It explained that it was the key to the dormitory, a facility managed by the Bureau for Magical Girls, where they lived with their contractors who supervised them at all times. But he wasn't included in the list because, well, he had something special between his legs that didn't exactly meet the Bureau's magical girl criteria. But the kid, completely ignoring that part, turned around to head to the place since he had nowhere else to go anyway. Then, glancing back at the creature with his usual deadpan tone, he asked if he had any objections to that, and of course he didn't. They were best buddies now after all. Before the little guy could even explain the dorm rules, Jang Sai casually scooped him up and launched himself into the sky like a rocket, with poor Bobby screaming since he was afraid of heights. Meanwhile, back on the ground, a magical girl was finally free and was looking around for our hero, since he was way too overpowered for just a rookie, and she wanted to know how he took out this monster with that attack. But since he was already gone, she decided to just absorb the monster's power for now, since protocol required her to absorb its residual power before the Bureau cleanup team arrived. Afterwards, she could always return it to the girl next time they met. With that, she did her magical girl mumbo-jumbo, and the power from the monster's corpse started getting absorbed into her body. But it was too much for her to handle on her own, and she started struggling. That is when she recalled someone by the name of Mr. Bobby, since he was supposed to scan her during absorption to confirm elimination of the monster. But while all that was going on, she failed to realize something strange that was happening nearby to a laptop that was slowly starting to repair itself on its own, using the excess energy being released by the monster's corpse. Cut to our boy, who was on his way toward the place. Curious, he asked the little furball why it was afraid of flying, since all contractors naturally possess the ability to fly on their own. The thing just replied with a shaky voice, saying it had its reasons. Just then it pointed toward the distance, telling him they had finally arrived. Oh look, in a black and white world, the only pink house. As for our hero, he decided to land, but since he didn't know how to, he came up with his own strategy. Summoning his magic staff, he used it as a booster and propelled himself toward the ground, plummeting straight down like a meteor. With a loud crash, he landed right at the front gate of the building. As for poor Bobby, the guy was completely out cold, probably traumatized from the past 5 minutes he'd spent with this lunatic. But our hero didn't care and started smacking him around to wake him up so they could enter the building. Cut to the inside, and the guy was now in his default skin, looking around and commenting on how good the living conditions for these magical girls were. But since Bobby wouldn't stop complaining about him transforming back, he reminded him it wasn't his fault. His clothes had exploded after transformation, and he didn't have anything else to change into right now. Bobby clarified that wasn't what he meant. He meant Jang Sai couldn't transform back into a guy. He had to keep his male identity a secret in front of the other power girls no matter what. Upon asking the reason, the little furball informed the kid about an old prophecy passed down among contractors, one that spoke of an extremely self-centered, violence-obsessed male who would one day awaken the magical heart meant only for females and eventually bring ruin to the entire world. Yeah, extremely self-centered, violence-obsessed male. Nope, didn't ring any bells. But Bobby wasn't buying it for a second, because if anyone in this world checked all those boxes, it was definitely the guy flying him straight into a crash landing 5 minutes ago. But still, now that things had come to this, he instructed him to stay in his magical girl self when inside the mansion. Otherwise, he warned, the entire contractor world, along with magical girls, would hunt him to death. Plus, there was something else they needed to do before all that. Handing him a contract, he explained that normally this was to be signed before transforming, but since they skipped that part, he needed to sign it now so he could officially register him in the Bureau's system. Cut to the outside, and the pink-haired power girl was seen making her way back into the mansion. That was when she received a notification on her phone by Bobby about a newcomer who recently joined and was living in the dorm. He also added that they definitely shouldn't interact too much with her since the girl was a shy type. Reading the message, the girl wondered if this magical girl could be the same one she saw during that battle, but the only way to know was to see it for herself. So she started entering the place to return the power she absorbed from that monster back to her. But entering the place, the poor girl froze in disbelief. There he was, a man sitting on their sofa with his manhood dangling, with his contractor running around like his personal maid bringing him tea. Yeah, the poor girl even forgot how to breathe anymore. As for the guy, he didn't even bother looking up and introduced himself as the brother of the girl she met earlier during that battle. Next second, bam, the girl fell to the ground completely out cold. Cut to a couple of minutes later, and the girl was back up, and after a small talk realized our boy would be staying with them temporarily to take care of his sister since she was shy. But the pink girl assured him not to worry about a thing and to leave her training to her, and she would make sure she becomes a proper power girl. But our hero fired back with a jab, reminding her she couldn't even beat that monster back in the city, while his sister, who had just transformed, wiped it out in a single attack. So what exactly was she planning to teach her? The poor girl, embarrassed and annoyed, snapped back that he wasn't a power girl, so he couldn't possibly understand. That was when our boy started laying out some wisdom on her. He explained how they always relied on magic attacks against monsters, which was pointless since most of those things came equipped with magic barriers. In the end, they'd end up wrecking half the city just to take down one creature. What they should be doing, he said, was imbuing physical objects with magic energy and taking the monsters out directly. That one hit hard. Both of them froze because, yeah, that actually made sense. As for Bobby, in his head, he just thought how unexpectedly brutal this guy was. Next panel, bam, straight punch on his face, and he was sent flying across the room. Just then, he heard the phone ringing and wondered who it could be. Picking it up, he heard someone from the Bureau Post-Disaster Processing Department, who was informing him that the damage statistics were complete and requesting that the magical girl responsible for defeating the monster report to the scene immediately for confirmation. That surprised the girl since this process usually took several days, not hours. But when she turned around to tell him, she froze as she saw a girl standing there instead of our boy, explaining her brother had something important to do, so he left. As for the pink-haired girl, the only thing going through her head was how tiny she was. Yeah, what's up with that? One second he has his thing dangling, next second he is short with a chest. Anyway, the pink-haired girl couldn't help thinking how impossibly cute this newcomer was and was having a hard time believing someone like that guy had a sister like her. Before she even realized it, her hand had already reached out, pinching the girl's soft cheeks. A second later, she snapped back to her senses and quickly apologized, flustered, mumbling something about her body moving on its own. Cut to the site, and they had finally arrived to see what all this was about. As for our hero, he couldn't help but ask if this damage statistic included an electric scooter and a new computer, but the man in front of him informed him those things' value was too small, so they weren't being counted. But just then, the pink-haired girl suddenly noticed him acting a little weird for some reason, since his expressions had gotten oddly blank, like he was holding something in. Before she knew it, she saw blood splashing all over the documents in her hands. Startled, she looked up only to see our boy's magic staff impaled through the man's chest. Shocked, she asked what he was doing attacking a civilian like that, but it turned out the one standing there was no civilian but something else entirely. Before she knew it, she saw all the soldiers present in the area turning into smoke and merging together to form something else entirely. As for the one standing in the front, he asked our boy how he figured it out, and the answer was simple. The face he was wearing was of a man he saw die right in front of him during the last monster attack. Next panel, they found themselves standing before a dangerous-looking woman with a massive blob of flesh as the lower part of her body. Seeing this sight, the two girls in the back bolted, trying to escape the place, but then smack! One of them crashed onto some kind of invisible wall covering the whole area. Upon checking, our hero realized the thing was using an air wall to trap all of them inside. On top of that, no one from outside the wall could see them. As for the pink girl, she already knew they were in big trouble since this was a domain that only an S-rank and above mutant beast could create. Since those creatures' strength is incomparable to the B3 beast they fought earlier, usually a group of magical girls are deployed to exterminate them. But even so, if they managed to trap their victims in this domain, it was certain death, since these creatures didn't play by the world's rules inside their domain. Once someone was trapped inside, escape was practically impossible. Just then, the ground underneath their feet suddenly cracked, but thinking quickly, our hero, using his ability, managed to grab onto the stunned girl, and using his super speed, he caught the other two ladies as well before they got pancaked. Landing back to safety, he turned his attention back toward that monster lady to finish this quickly before things got even messier. But just then, a hand appeared stopping him. Turning to the side, he found both girls he just saved latched onto him. Their hormones were all over the place as they practically begged him to indulge in some cultural activities with them. Turning toward the one responsible, he heard the woman explaining that this was the power of her domain. Every creature that enters here has their lust amplified, eventually becoming flesh lumps that only know mating, and when that happens, they merge together with her. She smiled wickedly and asked the kid to join them so they could become one. Before she could finish that sentence, a flash appeared aimed right at her neck. Next panel, her head was seen rolling as our Chad stood there telling the girl he would pass. But to his shock, another person appeared from the lump of flesh, showing surprise, since mating was the most primal joy of humanity, and asked why he was refusing. Little did it know, our hero was no ordinary human. He was a Chad, and Chads don't simp over anyone, unlike a certain somebody on the ground twitching, trying to keep herself under control. As for the other two girls, they were already gone, lost to the lust monster, and were nothing more than skeletons on the ground. Seeing that the girl's life was in danger, our hero leaped towards the creature once more to end it, before Pink Head ended up like the two girls before her. As for the monster girl, she decided to use other ways to deal with him since clearly he wasn't affected by lust. Our hero saw a bunch of tentacle-looking things blocking his way, but something like that was child's play for him. He imbued his staff with magic and hurled it straight through the vines, and the thing tore through the girl's chest, taking her out in one go. But then, to his shock, more and more figures started to appear from the lump of flesh, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by girls from all sides. But just then, he stopped as he realized something about all these women. They were all characters from his manga that he drew over the years. Next chapter, and the poor girl was already at her limit, unable to control herself anymore, and at that moment, she saw our hero standing there, and she finally broke and gave in to the temptation. But then, whack, a punch landed right on her head, snapping her back to her senses as our hero informed her he already disconnected those vines covering her body and asked what she could tell him about that monster. The girl explained that creatures such as these were known as calamities. Their origin was unknown, along with their purpose. Based on strength, these could be anywhere from rank C to S, and as far as they know, these calamities mutate from everyday objects, but specific conditions for mutation are still unknown. That last part about mutating from objects caught our hero's attention, but before he could dwell on it, he heard the creature complaining that they were ignoring her and whispering on their own. And bam, she threw a massive tentacle toward the kid, but he easily managed to get out of the way. But now he knew the creature's weakness, so with that in mind, he leaped back into the fight, commenting that its real body was somewhere else, and all these were just clones it was using for distraction. The creature was impressed that he managed to figure that part out and asked what he was planning on doing with that knowledge, and the answer was to kill all clones and force the real body to show itself. To that, the creature chuckled, asking if he even knew how many clones it possessed. Yep, the kid knew exactly how many. Minus the two he already took out, it still had 1,215 clones. That number made the thing freeze for a moment since it was the exact count of her clones. As for our hero, he summoned his staff and lunged down to take out all of the clones. With that, he started carving his way through all of them like a flash of light until it was already the last clone left, which he easily managed to take out as well. With that final clone destroyed, the giant blob started transforming once more, which left the pink girl wondering if it was finally over. But our hero corrected her that the creature was entering its second phase. Just as he said that, the massive thing bursted open, and from within, a human-shaped figure slowly rose up, and bam, next thing they saw a computer girl. Damn, this is a first. Never thought computers could be so damn fine. As for our hero, he recognized the thing as his laptop that broke during the morning incident. As for the thing, it started thanking our hero for getting rid of all those clones, pointing out that it was tired of using the stupid characters from that stupid manga artist's boring erotic story. Anyways, with that, it started doing something with the keyboard, muttering something about maxing the lust buff for both of them. Before they could even react, it launched some chords from its hands straight toward both of them. After that, well, I don't even know what it started doing, but whatever it was working, since even our hero was affected by that ability's effect. As for the poor girl, she lost all her strength and fell to the ground. Seeing her condition, our hero realized she wouldn't be able to hold out for much longer, so with no other choice, he told the girl to use whatever strength she had left to launch her laser attack at him. But the girl refused, knowing full well he wouldn't survive. But our hero assured her not to worry, reminding her they were dead anyway, so they might as well take that chance. Hearing that, the girl realized he was right and decided to trust him on this. With that, a powerful laser shot straight toward our hero, and he was thrown several meters away, which even shocked the computer girl. But then, from the smoke, she saw him rising back up to his feet, using his healing ability to recover his strength. That reckless strategy even surprised the enemy, since he gambled everything on that one moment, but it didn't matter. His body was beyond damage, meaning he was in no shape to fight back anymore, and because of that, she managed to trap him inside her cords, declaring her victory. But then she saw our hero muttering from within the prison that she lost. Shocked, the thing looked down, and sure enough, she saw his arm latched onto her body. Before she could even think about breaking herself free, our hero summoned his staff and, wasting no time, imbued all his remaining magic power into the thing. Before the girl knew it, a massive explosion rocked the whole area. Next panel, the girl was seen on the ground, completely out of energy and on the brink of death. As for our hero, he casually walked up to the thing to deliver the final blow, and the sly one, still not done, turned on her pity act, reminding him she was still his precious computer, telling him if he killed her, all his work and all his manga would be gone. She even promised she would behave from now on and continue to be useful to him. But not even letting her finish that sentence, our hero drove the staff through her screen, shutting her up for good. With that creature finally gone, the barrier trapping them inside the place also started to fade away. As for our hero, he didn't even look a little bit pleased at how things turned out. Hearing the girl telling him they did it, he silently whispered he lost. Surprised, the girl asked what he was talking about, and our heartbroken fool told the girl that all his dreams died with that creature. Cut to the night, and the pink girl, whose name I still don't know, was shocked to hear such a powerful monster wasn't an S rank. Bobby explained that according to its magic signature, the thing was an A rank mutation monster, which was far from being an S rank. As for why it was able to open its own domain, the Bureau was still investigating that. Besides, he pointed to our Chad, explaining that after absorbing the creature's magic, he, or rather she, it's so confusing, only reached Bud Stage 1, which was all the proof they needed. Curious, our hero asked what this Bud Stage 1 was. Pink Girl explained that Magical Girl ranking was divided into 5 levels by the Bureau, which start from seed, sprout, leaf, bud, and flower, with each level further divided into 3 stages. To rise their level, they need to absorb the magical power from the defeated monsters. Impressed, our hero called her Miss Know-It-All, which the girl happily took as a compliment, pointing out that she got full marks in her magical theory back in the day. Cut to the next day, and the place was seen being swarmed by choppers for some reason. Out came men in black, who started laying down a red carpet for someone. With that, out came a blonde girl from the chopper, a girl by the name of Yi Lin, daughter of the richest man in the city, and shocker, also a magical girl. Stepping out, she saw one of her servants apologizing that no one came to greet her at the door, even though he notified the station in advance of her arrival. Next panel, the guy was on the ground apologizing, with the furious girl asking who told him to notify them in advance, since she wanted to see how these common or magical girls trained in their natural environment. But ignoring the fool, she made her way toward the door. Cut to the inside, and the pink girl was on the ground panting, covered in sweat, asking if she could take a break. Right there, our hero, just as equally exhausted from whatever they were doing, refused to stop after coming so far, and told her to endure it just for a little while longer. Just then, Yi Lin walked into the room and froze at the sight of what both of them were doing. I don't know what was going through your guys' heads, but get your head out of the gutter. They were in the middle of their physical training. But for Yi Lin, that took her by surprise, since they were supposed to be magical girls and doing physical training was pointless for them. Seeing her standing there, the pink girl got up and asked who she was, but the girl was more focused on the one doing push-ups, completely ignoring her. So she reminded him he should be practicing magic, not physical fitness, and demanded they stop whatever they were doing immediately. That annoyed our Chad, since this blonde princess suddenly barged into private property and started hurling orders at them like she owned the place or something. Furious, her lackey tried to intervene, but our hero simply grabbed his finger, and with one snap, the guy was already on the ground, groaning in pain. But ignoring the fool, our hero turned to the pink girl, asking where Bobby was, to which the girl informed him he had been in his room since yesterday and hadn't come out yet. Cut to Bobby raging in his game, screaming for his teammates, calling them brainless potatoes for rushing mid. Just then, out of nowhere, he suddenly sneezed in the middle of his raging. Wiping his nose, he figured it was probably our hero cursing him or something. Cut a couple of minutes later, and Bobby was telling someone he did receive a message from the headquarters about a girl who was being transferred to their dorms. Yeah, guess he had another one of those friendly talk sessions with our hero, since the guy was completely swollen after the beating he took and was apologizing, saying he spent the whole night playing ranked matches and forgot to pass on the message. But our Chad wasn't done and he prepared to teach him a lesson, but lucky for Bobby, the pink-haired girl jumped between them, trying to defuse the situation. As for the princess, she just sat there watching the entire circus unfold in complete disbelief. Finally, unable to take it anymore, she slammed her hand on the table and shouted, telling them to stop. Furious, the girl introduced herself, explaining the reason she came to this place was because 2 days ago they killed an A-rank mutation monster. So headquarters believed they had some talent, although from what she had seen, she doubted it. But ignoring that, she told the two she was here to lead them to form a new action team. Yeah, our hero had zero clue what that was, which annoyed the girl even more. But the pink girl explained that it was like a promotion. From now on, they would be deployed to other areas as well, with stronger monsters. Blondie also chimed in, explaining that forming an action team wasn't as simple as they thought. Even though the headquarters approved it, they still had to pass a combat assessment. With that, she got up, telling both of them to get ready, because she was here to help them pass that test. After all, she believed with their current abilities they would never pass that assessment in this lifetime or the next. Cut to the place in the middle of nowhere. Inside a massive arena, a woman was seen explaining that normally candidates were supposed to level up for about a year before attempting the assessment. She explained they couldn't possibly pass this test with their current strength, since 2 of them were Leaf Stage 2 while the third was Bud Stage 1, on top of that, a support healing type. But before she could even finish, the pampered princess stepped forward, clearly done with the lecture. She said she didn't have time for any of that, claiming she was only there to go through the formalities and that she alone was more than enough to handle whatever this test was. With no other choice, the instructor reluctantly agreed but gave one final warning. Once the assessment begins, there's no stopping it. Just then, a massive magic circle lit up in front of them, its glow spreading across the entire arena. All 3 of them stared in amazement as 3 monsters started emerging from the swirling portal. Not just any monsters either, powerful ones, and one was even a B+. The princess, however, wasn't intimidated and told both of them to step back and let her handle this fight. With that, she activated her powers and started transforming into her magical girl form. I mean, it's just changing clothes. How does that give them strength? Anyway, the girl whipped out her gun and told both of them to look closely since she would only demonstrate this to them once. Next second, bam, the head of the B+ ranked monster landed right next to her, startling the girl. Turning toward the one responsible, she saw our hero, who had already taken out all the monsters while she was busy with her dramatic transformation and was even asking for more. Fast forward, and they were proudly receiving their certificate, which was proof that they were now officially a combat team. Well, 2 of them were proud. The princess, on the other hand, was absolutely fuming, since she never expected that little brat to be this powerful, and that ruined her big moment. On top of that, she had been practicing that line for so long to look cool, and he completely ignored it. Just then, the instructor approached our hero, praising him since she never expected a mere Stage 1 bud to possess such strength to complete the test in record time. But our hero, on the other hand, noticed something strange going on since he wasn't able to move his body for some reason. Before he knew it, bam, all his clothes were torn off his body. Okay, I thought it was the costume that made him look like that, but the guy literally grew a pair of boobies after becoming a magical girl. Anyways, this sudden blast caught the other 2 girls off guard as well. As for the instructor, she was staring at our hero a little too closely for some reason, and seeing this, the pink girl wasted no time and covered him up. As for the princess, she demanded an explanation for this sudden attack, but the woman, acting all clueless, apologized, saying she forgot to retract the residual magic from opening the summoning array in time and her power leaked out of her body on its own. But our hero knew it was a lie, since he clearly noticed the woman intentionally activating some kind of ability and realized that woman might be onto something. Just as he had feared, the woman had suspected him to be a boy, since there was something wrong with his magic attributes. On top of that, she was sure he was using some kind of method to hide his true gender, so she decided to keep a closer eye on him. With that, the story cuts 10 days later and both of them were seen walking around the docks at night. Just then, they got jumped by someone, startling the poor pink girl out of her skin, and she instantly latched onto our hero, mumbling something about ghosts. But the kid told her to get off him, telling her to take a closer look. It was just the princess, who was complaining that they were late since they were supposed to meet up at this place at 9 o'clock. That surprised both of them, since Bobby clearly told them the meetup time was 10 o'clock. On top of that, they weren't briefed about this mission either. That actually annoyed the girl, since just like the 2 of them, their contractor was just as annoying. But deciding to ignore that, she told them to follow her to the ship, and she would explain everything once they were there. That surprised the pink girl, and she asked what ship she was talking about. The next thing she knew, she was standing in front of a massive cruise ship, something so large and grand that it left her speechless. What shocked her even more was that she was sure This thing hadn't been there a moment ago. But ignoring her, Yilin handed the lady their first-class guest tickets, who explained to them that this voyage would last 3 days and 2 nights. Cut to the inside, and the whole place was filled with nobles. Eating, drinking, dancing, everyone having a time of their lives. To the side was Yilin explaining about the mission. She told both of them about a story of a ship 20 years ago which collided with an oil tanker near the coast, causing a fuel explosion. She told them that according to the reports, the entire vessel burned and sank within 7 minutes, with no time for rescue, and all 2,616 people on board died on the spot. And this incident was later known as the Four Seasons Maritime Disaster. That name shocked the pink girl since that was exactly the name of the ship they were on right now, and she asked if Yilin was saying this was the same ship that sank 20 years ago. That also caught our hero's curiosity since this was something new for him, so he asked Yilin if they were sent here to hunt ghosts. The girl explained that after receiving multiple reports of sightings of this cruise ship, the Management Bureau sent investigators, but for some reason all of them disappeared without a trace after boarding. That was why this time they were sent to investigate, and if they found any kind of monster, they were to eliminate it on the spot. She told both of them to be on guard, since that calamity could be hiding in any part of the building, in any form, including items, furniture, machinery, even food and drinks. Yeah, no, our boy wasn't even listening to her, so the furious girl strangled him, telling him to spit it out. Annoyed, he did as told and hurled out the whole drink. After he was done, he told both of them there was no use talking about it and suggested they search the whole place, since the monster wasn't actively attacking anyone yet. So they still had time to stop it before it could harm the passengers. Fast forward, and the three were seen walking around the ship, with our hero casually wondering aloud if this whole ship could be a calamity. But Yilin quickly dismissed the idea, explaining that no record had ever mentioned a monster of such massive scale or complexity. Besides, that theory didn't explain the presence of actual people on board. Just then, they spotted a sign in the distance reading, "If you're prepared to go to heaven, then go in." Yeah, it was definitely suspicious and worth checking out. So without any hesitation, they entered the room and were greeted by a sight they were not expecting. Just then, a figure appeared behind Yilin, startling the girl so badly she almost screamed. But as they turned back, yeah, the place definitely looked like heaven. It was actually a spa, famous for making its guests feel heavenly. Fast forward, and I'm not sure I should be adding this part or not, since the girls were having the time of their lives being squeezed by the two women, while our hero just stood there watching the whole thing unfold with full composure. Fast forward once more, and all three of them had finally arrived back in their room without finding any clues. As for the pink girl, she was mesmerized by how luxurious the whole place was, and that annoyed Yilin, so she reminded her to keep her head straight since they were not here on a vacation. Yeah, right, like she was one to talk. Our hero reminded her how much she was enjoying herself during that massage. The comment made Yilin blush furiously, and she quickly snapped back, telling him to shut up. Trying to move on, she suggested all three of them take some sleep for now, and since there were three of them, they could take turns keeping watch at night. The first shift went to the pink girl and our hero, since according to Yilin, it was the easiest one to stay awake for. She would take over during the second half of the night. But just as our hero was about to head to his bed, he got stopped, and turning back, he saw the pink girl asking if she could sleep with him in his bed since she was still scared. And this stupid little brat turned down the opportunity of a lifetime, telling her flat out no. Next panel, and of course, she was already latched onto him, sleeping peacefully while he lay there wide awake, completely unable to move. On top of that, she was hugging him a little too tightly, and that's when it happened. His weapon finally reacted because of all the softness pressing down on his arm. Cut to a couple of minutes later, and he was seen in the washroom looking in the mirror. Turns out his transformation ran out, and he was now back in his default skin once more, with all the right tools finally back where they belonged on his body. Turns out his transformation only lasts for 23 hours, with a 1-hour cooldown which was required for his body to recharge its magical energy to transform again. Which meant the next hour was, well, spent in the toilet, trying to deal with the aftermath. Just then, his hand accidentally hit a glass, sending it crashing to the floor. The sound jolted Yilin awake. Getting up, the girl wondered what was going on, but as she turned toward our hero's bed, he was nowhere to be seen. Annoyed, the girl barged into the bathroom to confront him for slacking off while on duty, but to her surprise, the whole place was empty. Just then, she saw a towel falling in front of her from the ceiling, and sure enough, the poor girl was traumatized seeing what was hanging in front of her. With that, a loud thud rang in the whole room, and the sleeping beauty didn't even react to all the noise caused by whatever was going on in there. Meanwhile, back in the room, our hero had the girl pinned under him, and since she was trying to create some noise, he figured it would be better to put her to sleep for now, and karate chopped her at the back of her neck. Fast forward 1 hour, and the girl was seen trying to explain what happened to her earlier, explaining she saw a pervert flasher hiding in their bathroom who knocked her out and brought her out here. But the so-called flasher, now back in his magical girl form, just dismissed it, pointing out what she was saying was absurd, since no way a naked guy knocked her out just to drag her out here, and said she must have dozed off and dreamed the whole thing. After successfully convincing her, he switched the topic and told her about what he discovered while looking for her in the men's restroom. But the girl was more curious about the fact he visited the men's toilet looking for her, but ignoring that, He explained that the men's bathroom in this place only had stalls, no urinals, which was strange. But the girl reminded him this place was created by a calamity, so it made sense. It had some things wrong. But our hero answered that the soda inside the liquor bottle he had earlier was so well replicated along with everything else in this place, meaning whoever made this place had real-world exposure to it somehow, but got the details mixed up. After hearing everything, the girl understood what he was trying to say was that the one behind all this was a female who doesn't know what alcohol was. Just then, they heard a couple to the side arguing about something, and out of nowhere, the woman broke down crying, telling the man she can't take it anymore. As for the man, he kept trying to tell her to keep herself together, but the girl told him she knows what will happen to her, but she can't do this anymore. That is when our hero heard Yilin whispering, pointing out that those two were investigators sent here by the Bureau 3 years ago. Just then, they suddenly saw the woman start to cough for some reason, and before they knew it, she was choking on her own breath, and then, bam, she froze mid-motion. Her body went still, her expression blank, followed by some kind of a lullaby. Before either of them could understand what was going on, something started happening to her body, and next thing they knew, the woman was on the ground. But the scary part was that she wasn't a woman anymore, just a literal stuffed doll. Seeing the sight, Yilin approached the grieving man, telling him they were sent here by the Bureau to investigate this place, and the weeping man, forcing a smile on his face, just told the girl that after 12 hours of boarding this vessel, no one can leave this place as they get bound to the ship, and when that happens, they must smile and be happy all the time, otherwise the same will happen to them. With that, the crazy man stormed off screaming that he was happy, but our hero on the other hand noticed something on the ground, and upon looking closer he saw some writing saying to head to the lowest level of the ship's helm room. Cut to the place, and they found themselves standing in front of a massive door. Our hero pointed out that the man must be under surveillance by the calamity somehow, which was why he passed the message to them indirectly. With that, they opened the door, and the sight in front of them left them speechless. The whole place looked like a massive mechanical circus. But our hero corrected the girl, explaining that what she was seeing was actually a sunshine rainbow little white horse. Yeah, that didn't help, so he told her it was an animal that used to be really popular over 10 years ago. Just then, she noticed a strange symbol on the wall. Upon checking it out, she realized something was hidden behind it. Turns out, it was an investigation report left by that same guy who had tipped them off to this place. According to the report, they arrived at this place following the Bureau's instructions to investigate the area. At first, everything seemed normal, but after 12 hours of boarding the ship, they suddenly heard an announcement ordering everyone to keep smiling and enjoy the trip. At first, they didn't take the announcement seriously, but soon they learned the consequences of being unhappy. According to the report, after the Bureau's magic detection in this area, there was no possibility of an A-level or above calamity residing here, but after their own investigation, they realized this ship was clearly created by an S-level calamity, since the creature possessed a massive authority inside this domain. For that reason, they decided to stay hidden and continue investigating. During that time, they discovered more and more unreasonable things on this ship and realized that the calamity didn't fully understand the human world when shaping its domain. As for the people on this ship, all of them were real humans, some survivors from the original shipwreck and others civilians who had wandered in later out of curiosity. According to the man, the punishments that appeared randomly weren't part of the domain's rules, but rather the work of the calamity itself. That's why they concluded that the calamity's true body was hiding somewhere among the crowd in human form. After reading all that, our hero's thoughts went straight to that little girl he had seen when he first boarded the ship. He immediately told Yilin about it, but Yilin reminded him they can't just make judgments like that without any solid leads. As for our hero, he was fully convinced it was her. His reasoning, in scenarios like this, if a little girl like that shows up, there's definitely a problem, which according to him was common sense. On top of that, he reminded the girl they were running out of time and only had one more hour left before they were bound to this place. But Yilin was still skeptical and suggested they try to confirm the little girl's identity before taking any drastic steps. To that, our hero told her not to worry about that fact, since he had already thought of a way to verify it quickly. Cut to the girl who was walking around the ship along with her parents. That is when they got approached by someone. Turns out it was our hero holding the man's wallet, explaining that he dropped it. Then he added there was something he wanted to talk to him about, and asked if he had a moment for a small chat. Without missing a beat, he blurted out that he and his friend beside him are magical girls. That statement shocked the two parents, but before they could react to that, the kid pointed to the child, explaining they suspected her of being a calamity and asked if they could check her. As for the poor Yilin, the girl was dying of embarrassment, seeing how the kid casually pulled up to these people and started accusing their daughter of being a calamity without any proof. But then, out of nowhere, he grabbed onto the man by the collar, and before they knew it, he threw him straight into the air while moving out of the way before getting turned into a Sikh kebab. Yep, turns out reading all those horror mangas had paid off, because the child really was the calamity they were searching for. Seeing this, he quickly contacted someone to take action at position 13, and that someone was Pink Girl, who instantly prepared to take action. Next panel, the unsuspecting creature got blasted by a full-power laser beam from below that tore through the ship's ceiling, reaching for the clouds. Cut back to the docks where someone was commenting that they finally managed to locate the calamity. It was the same woman from the testing area, along with a female by the name of Xiaoyan, who was asking her if she still suspected that flat-chested shorty. She explained that she was overthinking things since she was just fast at killing monsters. On top of that, the Bureau magic detection software is full of bugs, so the report was probably false. But the girl answered that it wasn't just about the magic detection, but the way that girl fought was what made her suspicious of her. She went on to explain, unlike a normal magical girl, this girl doesn't use magic-infused spells. Instead, she injects magic directly into her own body cells, gaining power and speed far beyond normal limits. Then she uses her enhanced body to physically strike the calamity, which allows her to easily kill enemies above her rank. That shocks Xiaoyan since something like that should be impossible, as a human body can't directly withstand magic unless it's a calamity's body. To that, the girl told her that was precisely the reason, since her body was naturally magic-resistant, and reminded her about the Bureau's experiments when a male creature was forcibly implanted with a magic heart. After she was done explaining everything to her, she pointed out that the prophecies of those contractors might actually be coming true. Cut back to the ship, and the creature now looked like burned bread. As for our hero, he was done wasting time on the thing and prepared to end him once and for all, and shot his staff towards the thing, ripping it into pieces and ending the battle once and for all. After the thing was gone, a hand was seen reaching out of the massive hole in the middle of the ship. Turns out it was poor Yilin, who got blasted along with the monster when Pink Girl shot that laser, and was fuming since the kid almost got her killed with that stupid plan. Cut back to the two beauties watching everything from the docks. Xiaoyan was getting ready to activate her blood ability to test what they had been suspecting about that girl was really true, and conjured up a spell using her blood. Meanwhile, back in the ship, our hero suddenly noticed something strange going on with his body, and before he knew it, he was hoisted up in the air by some strange force, being dragged away somewhere. Seeing this, Pink Girl acted quickly and flew straight towards him to save him, and both of them slammed back to the ground. And guess what? The creature was also still alive, and using this opportunity, it threw its weapon towards both of them to finish them off. But just as the thing was inches away from them, a penguin-looking thing appeared and froze the thing in place using its ice magic. Turns out it was one of Yilin's summons who was asking Pink Girl if the girl was okay. The girl told her she just fainted, but then she noticed something and upon looking closer realized it was a magic circle. But the problem was, this one was unique to magical girls, and she wondered who could be the one behind this. As for Yilin, she instructed her penguin friend they needed to act fast before the creature could recover all of its strength, and told it to freeze the monster while she used her kitten spray on it. The penguin did as told and leaped towards the monster, and giving it no time to recover, he blasted the thing with his most powerful ice attack and began freezing the thing. Just then, a projectile was seen being hurled towards the frozen monster, and as soon as the thing connected with the ice, it activated some kind of an ability, and bam, appeared a cat blasting the thing dead on with a powerful fire attack. Turns out this was Yilin's strategy that she used to roast powerful monsters, since their shields could only block magic but not high-temperature steam. But then, to their horror, a voice echoed from within the steam, "Domain release." The moment those words rang out, the sky above began to crack like shattered glass. In the next instant, the massive ship that was sailing smoothly across the waves got teleported to the bottom of the ocean. As for the girls, they weren't prepared for this, and now at the bottom of the ocean, they had no way of fighting back or defending themselves. The crushing pressure and the lack of oxygen only made things worse for them. With that, Yilin noticed her consciousness starting to slip away, and the last thing she saw was the little girl slowly floating towards them. Cut to the outside. The one responsible for the chaos was calmly explaining to Xiaoyan the nature of the creature's bizarre domain. Not only did it reshape the sunken ship and its surroundings, but it also trapped its victims within an illusion, making them believe they were aboard a normal cruise ship gliding peacefully across the sea. But in reality, they were inside a decaying wreck resting on the ocean floor. To make matters worse, the domain projected a mirage onto the ocean's surface, luring unsuspecting travelers toward it. Once they crossed into the illusion, they were unknowingly transported to the seafloor. Hearing that, Xiaoyan finally understood why she kept staring at the distance earlier even though there was nothing there. But still, she asked if what they were doing was okay, since that male body she was suspecting hadn't shown up yet, and they were risking the lives of all those girls this way. But the girl told her to just keep watching for a bit longer. Cut back to our boy, who was finally starting to regain consciousness, and the first thing his eyes landed on was a sight to die for. A very, very, very healthy woman lying on top of him. On top of that, she was sucking at his neck for some reason. Confused and still exhausted, he asked who she was and what she was doing. The female explained that she was sucking out the things inside his body. She informed the kid that he had a magic circle on his body that seals mana, which was why he lost his power just now. After some time, the kid was back to normal and realized that the woman standing before him was an investigator from the Bureau. Turns out she was part of the batch 5 years ago, and back then, there was a girl in the Bureau with a strange ability. Her blood could attach itself to any magic circle and activate it whenever needed. Normally, something like that was only used against calamity-class beings. Hearing that, our boy finally pieced things together. The circle must have been embedded in him back when that woman blasted him with her power, But what really threw him off was that, just like back then, even though his mana had been forcibly drained, he still didn't revert to his original form. Just then, he noticed the oxygen mask strapped to his face, and that's when it hit him. He was underwater. That didn't make sense though, because the woman standing in front of him was breathing just fine. When he asked how that was even possible, the woman gave a faint smile and told him the reason: she was already dead. What stood before him now wasn't a living person but a wraith, recreated by the calamity's magic. That was also surprising, since that would mean she belonged to that monster, but still she saved him. To which the woman explained that the calamity in its twisted obsession had preserved her original memories. That's why, despite being under its control, she still had her own will. The girl explained that all the humans brought aboard the ship were just fodder, since every time the broadcast rang at midnight, the calamity drained their flesh and blood to get stronger, and what remained of them became wraiths like her. At first, when they turned, none of them even realized they were dead. It was only after enough time passed that the truth started sinking in. But even then, some refused to accept it, still clinging to the illusion that they were alive. Even as wraiths, they were bound by the domain's rules, still afraid of obliteration, still unable to break free. And so they continued an endless cycle of fear and suffering under that calamity's shadow. But she told our hero they had enough of this torment without end, and now they wanted release. She informed our hero that he was still too weak to fight on his own and needed an external supply of mana to recover immediately. And since their very existence was now made of mana, they had decided to give it all to her so she could take it with her and kill that calamity for what it did to all of them. Cut to the outside. The creature, thinking that it won, was preparing to recreate its twisted domain to turn things back to how they were. But just as she was about to, someone poked her on the shoulder. Turning to the location, it saw a fist flying at full speed toward its face, and before it could even process anything, bam, a powerful fist landed square on its face, and it was seen getting launched back into the shipwreck, crashing hard through layers of rusted steel. As for the rest of the wraiths, they watched the whole thing in shock, unable to believe their eyes. Just then, they noticed their bodies starting to disintegrate, and all of them turned into mana, getting absorbed back into the creature. Getting back up, the girl cursed, thinking she shouldn't have left them with their memories after all. On top of that, the sneak attack from our hero was pissing her off, and she decided to take things more seriously. But just then, something got driven into her hand, and the confused girl turned to see what had just happened. Yep, she let her guard down again and got sneak attacked once more. As she turned to see the one responsible, she saw that it was our hero, who was telling the girl he had two questions for her. The first was what exactly her true form was, and the second was what happened to the two girls who came here with him. As for the monster, realizing she'd been cornered, the creature changed her tone completely. Acting innocent, she put on a pitiful expression and said this was her true form. She explained that she had boarded this ship 20 years ago, and when the shipwreck happened, she didn't know why she became like this, and since she was alone, she brought back everyone. Yeah, no, our hero wasn't falling for that sub-story. Getting close to the monster's face, he told her she still had a lot to learn about human children. First of all, no human kid would ever believe a cruise ship is pulled by a sunshine rainbow little white horse. And second, they sure as hell wouldn't take strangers as their parents. Then he repeated himself one last time. This was her final warning. Tell him what happened to the two girls. Stuttering, the thing answered that just as they were about to drown, a strange flash of light suddenly appeared, and they just vanished. Hearing that, our hero realized it must have been some kind of teleportation circle. But before he could dig deeper, the creature had already finished whatever it was doing and started merging with the ship, and before the kid knew it, the entire wreck began to move and the whole thing came back to life. Next panel, our boy was seen getting smashed straight out of the ship's body and thrown into the open water. Pulling himself together, he heard the creature's voice echo through the sea, telling him this was his second chance. He got two chances to kill her already and missed both. And damn, that is one intimidating-looking monster. If only she wasn't evil. Now fully awakened, the creature, no longer hiding behind illusions, told him that this was her true body, and that since she had finally merged with her full power, he didn't stand a chance. As for our hero, realizing he was right about the whole thing being the creature's body, he couldn't help but sigh that the so-called second-gen theory wasn't reliable after all. By then, the creature was also ready to attack back, and with one flick of her finger, the whole sea shook, with the massive vessel turning straight towards our hero. And before he could even get a chance to dodge, the thing was already at his face. Cut to the outside. The meddling witch was still watching everything in amusement, and since this was their first time coming across a calamity that was this large, she was quite excited about the whole thing. But still, the fact that our hero remained a woman even after losing all his mana was irritating her, and she wondered if she really was mistaken. But being the stubborn little twat she was, she convinced herself there had to be something else she was missing. With that thought in mind, she told Xiaoyan to go after the two girls while she stayed behind to observe the fight. But as she turned towards Xiaoyan's face, the girl seemed utterly horrified and speechless for some reason. Looking up, she saw the massive body of the ship being tossed out of the sea like it was a twig, and the whole thing crashed far away into the distance, destroying everything in its path. From the rubble appeared the monster, now separated from the ship, and wondering what kind of monster she had provoked. As for that monster, he wasn't planning on letting her go that easily. Realizing this was her end, The creature begged our hero to just give her one chance to explain herself, promising to serve him forever. But it was no use. Without the slightest hesitation, the kid drove his staff straight through her chest. The last thing the creature heard were the words that came out of his mouth. Funny, those were the same lines as the last monster. After dealing with the creature, he turned his attention back towards the two girls, wondering where they could be right now. Cut to some other part of the city, and someone was seen crying while another person comforted her that there was still a chance she was still alive. Yep, it was the pink girl, now in a very questionable outfit, crying over our hero, telling Yilin she had seen him sink to the bottom with her own eyes and failed to grab him, blaming herself for it. Even Yilin was feeling conflicted. She didn't like the girl much, but she still had some redeeming points, so she promised herself to give her a grand send-off when they get back. Just then they heard a familiar voice from the back, and seeing who it was, the girls froze. As for Yilin, she herself wasn't able to believe her eyes what she was seeing. The stupid girls, mistaking our hero for a ghost, started screaming, promising to burn a ton of paper offerings so he could rest easy and move on quickly. Cut to the South Pole, where several individuals were standing in front of a massive summoning circle. One of them informed the rest that it had finally worked. That was when they saw a thick thigh covered in black stockings step out from the smoke, followed by a woman's voice asking for the current time. One of them quickly responded, informing her of the date and time, calling the person their commander. Is it just me, or does this female look awfully similar to our hero, since she even mentioned that she should have just finished fighting the cruise ship monster by now? Cut back to the city, and a bunch of choppers were seen making their way somewhere. Inside one of them was the pink girl, enjoying the view below since this was her first time flying, and with her our hero, who was lost in his own world since he was going through an existential crisis for any boy, since his body was becoming more and more like that of a woman with each passing hour. Unlike before, when he used to worry about accidentally turning back into his real self, now he couldn't change back at all. The only time he could transform was through forced transformation, and even then it barely lasted an hour. The remaining 23 he was stuck as a girl. As for the airhead, she was staring down at the neighborhood below, amazed by how pretty it looked, and asked Yilin if her house was somewhere down there. That's when the broken finger fool decided to open his mouth again, bragging that the entire neighborhood was actually his mistress's home. Seeing how the guy was being a jerk again, Yilin felt irritated. As for the view below, the place was massive, clearly overkill. As for the two, they were shocked to see the size of the place. As for our hero, he reminded Yilin that she was supposed to take them shopping first before heading to meet with her father, so why were they going straight to her house? The princess, with a nonchalant look on her face, replied that she was taking them to shop in her home's own shopping district. Yeah, our boy was completely lost at that point. Turns out the girl had an entire shopping street built right in her backyard. Since this was clearly something new to both of them, they asked what this was all about. With a casual smile, the girl explained that she got tired of going out to shop all the time, so she just had a section of her property converted into a personal shopping area. That way, she could shop whenever she wanted without leaving the house. Yeah, both of them were just staring at her, wondering if this girl had completely misunderstood the meaning of the word shopping. But tired of all the chatting, Yilin told one of her attendants to take their worn-out clothes and change them into something more presentable. Cut a couple of minutes later, and the pink head came out looking all stunning in her traditional outfit, but Yilin turned it down, saying it was too old-fashioned. Next was a more modern dress. Yeah, that was a big no-no, too revealing for Yilin, so a hard pass there as well. The third one, though, seemed to work since Yilin actually approved this time. Anyway, she herself was going with a sparkly red dress. As for the pink head, she was sparkling in her new dress as well. With the two girls now ready, Yilin wondered where our little brat went since she hadn't come out yet. Just then, he was shoved into the room with the two in his new black dress, and seeing her looking like a doll, even Yilin couldn't help but pause for a second, since the girl was looking extremely cute. Catching herself before she said anything weird, Yilin cleared her throat and told both girls to get ready. They were heading out to meet her father. Cut to some other part of the mansion, someone was seen pouring wine for someone. Turns out it was Bobby with Yilin's father. And I was not expecting this. I thought he was going to be a fat old man with a mustache, but the guy looks like a geek. Just then, he suddenly noticed someone entering the room, and turning to the ones, he saw that it was the three beauties. The man, wasting no time for some reason, went straight towards our hero, completely ignoring everyone else, to shake hands with him, which even caught him off guard. But he heard the guy thanking him for taking care of the ship Calamity, and also he was grateful she was taking care of his daughter. Yeah, that last part didn't sit well with Yilin. As for the man, for some reason, he bowed in front of our hero, telling him he needed to confess something, and bam, he whipped open his shirt, revealing underneath our boy's merch, screaming that he was his biggest fan ever since he saw her first battle against a Calamity. But before he got the chance to finish his sentence, he had his head buried into the ground. Shocked, all the maids turned. Our hero had instinctively swung his fist the moment he saw that horror show, out of pure disgust. As for the man, he stood back with a middle finger to his glasses, commenting his fists were as fast as missiles, and the masochistic little freak asked if she could do that to him once more. As for our poor hero, he was completely speechless, while Yulin, clearly used to this nonsense, quickly apologized on his behalf, saying her father was just saying weird stuff again and told him to get to the point already. That is when the man's tone got serious. With that, the scene cuts to the Anomaly Affairs Bureau, directly administered S-Class Calamity Containment Research Institute, where a breach was reported. In the command room, Director Q Lee was seen asking the man about their current situation and how this breach occurred, since in this place not even a calamity could possibly get in. The man, with a scared expression, reported that the intruder showed no signs of mana, and pointed out that based on their readings, it just seemed to be an ordinary human. That shocked the girl, since something like that should be impossible, not just because this facility was an impenetrable fortress, but because they were on the damn moon, meaning no human could survive the vacuum of space, let alone walk out there unprotected. And the one in question was none other than the same stalking lady who came out of that magic circle and looked awfully a lot like our hero. With one flick of her hand, the entire sector of the facility lit up in a blinding flash, followed by a massive explosion that shook the lunar surface itself. With that, the entire facility burst into chaos, alarms blaring, red warning lights flashing across every surface. On the outer perimeter, a person was seen trying to enter the facility, and the soldiers blocking the path wasted no time and opened fire. As for the person, all they did was raise their hand, and all the bullets stopped in their tracks. Then, with a small twist of her wrist, all the soldiers' oxygen masks were ripped clean off their faces. Before they could even register what had happened, they were gasping, clawing at their throats, collapsing one by one under the merciless vacuum. As for the intruder, she simply stepped over their bodies and walked through the gate without so much as a sound. Oh wait, what do we have here? The artist had some surprises stored up, since from that bulky-looking spacesuit emerged a stunning beauty, who was relieved to take off the junk from her body. And honestly, I agree it should be a crime to hide all that under so much junk. Anyway, the girl, after scanning the whole place for any possible survivors, created a magic circle on the ground, and seeing a person appearing from it, the girl called her Mama, asking if she did well. Turns out it was the same girl who blew up this place, praising her for a clean job. But she also reminded her not to call her Mama. To which the girl apologized, but the blushing girl also added that the commander always feels like a mom to her, so she couldn't help it. Seeing her make that face, the woman patted her on the head, telling her after this mission was complete, she could call her whatever. With that out of the way, the commander asked Z if she had explained to Red and White who their target was. To that, the girl told her not to worry, since she gave them a photo of the person, so they should be fine. Cut back to the surface, and Pink Head was seen complaining about something, saying she feels uncomfortable. In front of her stood two overly enthusiastic maids, insisting she relax and reminding her that their master wanted her to experience a genuine Yi-style spa treatment. With no way out, the poor girl reluctantly agreed and immediately regretted it the very next second. As for our hero, he was also there, soaking in the refreshing water while thinking about everything that had been going on recently. On top of that, he was thinking of getting out soon, since it was almost time for his transformation to wear off, and the last thing he wanted was to revert in the middle of the spa. But just then, a shadowy figure slowly started to creep up behind him, and before he knew it, he was in the arms of a very, very beautiful woman, commenting she still has more growing to do, and the clingy woman, with a tone that could melt ice, told him to come sleep with her tonight. As for our boy, he was starting to feel something down there because of all the affection he was receiving from her. Turns out this woman is Yilin's mother, who did not look happy seeing her act just like her father and told her to calm down. To that, the woman apologized but also reminded her when she was little, she was always clinging to her every night, begging to sleep together, and the blushing girl denied ever doing that. But during their mother-daughter bonding session, they turned to see our hero, but he was already gone. Cut to some other place, someone was seen burning Yi Huan's picture, with one asking the reason for doing so, to which the person replied, "This is what all the cool hitmen do in the old movies." Turns out it was the same two spacesuit weirdos he mentioned earlier, Red and White. One of them asked if the other even remembered what their target looked like, and the answer was a dumb one. Hair and a little beard, strange behavior, and most importantly, the only male in the entire Yi family estate, so there was no way they were missing him. Cut to our hero, who was back in his manly self and was planning on hiding in this place for an hour before heading back. And yeah, he saw the two clowns sitting there burning a picture, staring right at him. Next panel, he was on the ground all tied up, wondering what was the deal with these two. Turns out underneath those suits were two beauties who mistook our hero for Yi Huan. As for our hero, he was brainstorming, wondering who these two could be. His first thoughts were aliens, since obviously the weird spacesuits, but dismissed that quickly since they were speaking human language. But then again, they used magic to restrain him, which clearly meant they weren't normal, but they didn't seem to be someone from the Bureau either. Just then, he was jolted back to reality by one of the girls, and seeing him acting all clueless, the girl asked if there was another man here by the name of Yi Huan. Hearing no answer, she commented that the commander was right, he really was good at playing dumb. Yeah, our hero realized right there and then he was dealing with idiots since they mistook him for old Yi Huan. Annoyed, Red prepared to beat the answers out of him, and seeing that he might actually be in danger, the kid decided to stall for time until he was able to transform back once more. Thinking fast, he told the girl he was indeed that Yi Huan and told her he was willing to cooperate, so they don't need to use violence. Hearing that, the airhead fell for it and told the kid that they came back to this point in time all because of him. That one statement caught him completely off guard, hearing that these two were from the future. Cut to inside of the estate, and White was seen telling our hero to hurry up and remember already. As for our hero, who had no idea what he got dragged into, kept telling them he was trying, but if they kept rushing him, he was going to get more anxious, which will worsen his stress-inducing amnesia. But in reality, he was just stalling for time and needed just 6 more minutes before he could turn back into a magical girl. By then, Red had gotten quite impatient and asked if he could be stalling for time since she never heard of such a condition before. As for White, she was doing a quick check on his body, and after examination, she told Red he wasn't lying. Man, he must be really good at lying that even the lie detector wasn't able to pick it up. As for our hero, he started thinking back to what those lunatics had told him earlier. They were after the address of something he was supposedly planning to do 7 days from now. Red even mentioned that by this point, he should have already decided on that location, and that was supposed to be the most important thing to him. That left him wondering what exactly that Yi Huan was planning that made people from the future come chasing after him. Just then, they heard the door to the place suddenly opening up. Guess who? Yi Huan himself, casually walking into the room with not a single care in the world. But somehow, by the time he entered the place, all 3 of them had already vanished. Turns out they were hiding in the closet, and our boy found himself in a very compromising and dangerously soft situation. Let's just say his self-control was being seriously tested. As for poor Red, stuck in the middle, whispered angrily that this was White's idea, reminding her she was the one who said no one would come in here. And the stupid girl answered that there were too many rooms in this mansion, so she just assumed no one would bother coming into one this far out in a corner. As for Yi Huan, he walked towards one of the tables placed in the room, and the thing had a very suspicious-looking doll of our hero placed on it, which the man gently patted. And out of nowhere, he started jerking the thing violently while shouting for something to come out. And bam, from the ceiling dropped a full collection of our boy's merch. Damn, they even have underwear with his face on it. That's just diabolical. Anyways, the guy for some reason buried his face into one, called it number 312, and said today it was his turn. Meanwhile, the 2 girls watched the whole scene in confusion while calling him a disgusting old man. But White, for some reason, noticed the face of the person on those clothes looked awfully similar to their commanders. On top of that, the symbol on that girl's head was the same as that of the commanders, but Red told her to stop spewing nonsense, explaining that was the symbol of healing-type magical girls, which was very common in this era. Lucky for them, while they were still arguing, the man exited the room. Seeing this, Red let out a sigh of relief, muttering how that creepy old man was finally gone. But then she froze mid-sentence as that particular old man part sank in. Both girls turned toward each other at the same time, realizing what that actually meant, but it was already too late. Bam, a massive explosion engulfed the whole room, but the girls turned out to be completely unharmed. The same couldn't be said about their clothes, though. As for Red, she was blaming White since all this was clearly her fault. But just then, in the middle of their argument, they saw something appearing out of the smoke, and the thing grazed by Red's neck. The girl froze on the spot, realizing the person was more trouble than they thought. She signaled to White, and both girls joined hands, activating some kind of skill. With that, White's body started getting engulfed in flames as Red instructed her to make it quick and clean. Next panel, both girls had fused together into an entirely different person and were looking damn cool too. As for our hero, taking advantage of the situation, he managed to sneak up on this new girl, ready to knock her out with one punch. But to his shock, the girl easily managed to stop his fist mid-swing. Sensing the power the girl possessed, our boy demanded to know their identity. But hearing no answer, he flew back, creating some distance for his next attack. And since the person possessed extraordinary strength and speed, he prepared to end it quickly. But before he could even blink, the girl appeared right in front of his face, leaving him wondering when did that even happen. The next thing he knew, his face was being slammed straight into the floor, leaving a crater beneath him, and with that one move, he was out cold. As for the girl, she stared at him in confusion since she was clearly far stronger compared to any magical girl of this era, and because of that, they had to cause such a commotion. Just then, the door to the room suddenly opened up once more, and as the maid's eyes landed inside, they froze on the spot. There he was, our hero, lying unconscious on the ground with a massive crater under him. Cut to the outside, the girl was seen standing atop a tree, with Red asking if it was a good idea to leave him back there, since there was a good chance he was the one their commander mentioned. But White reminded her he wasn't their target, and since they weren't supposed to cause a big commotion before the incident on the moon was over, she suggested they retreat for now and wait for the commander's orders. Cut to another place, someone was seen flipping through a set of floating cards, mumbling that she knew this day would come. Turns out this person was actually an calamity locked up in the same moon facility, and this person wasn't a person either, but an actual Dullahan, or maybe something else since her torso was also dislocated from her hips. Anyway, she was telling someone standing before her that the answers they came for weren't hers to give, and standing right in front of her was none other than our boy's future self with Z beside him, who didn't seem too eager to hear her answers either, telling the woman they have their own ways to make her talk. Cut to the next chapter, and the poor girl's head was seen gagged, drooping, and in the back her torso under Z's foot. The interrogation method she chose was questionable to say the least. Not sure if the victim was in pain or secretly enjoying it, but Z sure was enthusiastic about the whole thing and was even dressed up for the occasion. As for the future protagonist, he was now sitting on the woman's throne, calling for Z's attention. As for the girl, she was waiting to be praised by the commander for coming up with such a brilliant strategy of making her talk. But instead, he told her that once they got back, her phone was getting confiscated since he had no idea what kind of things she'd been watching lately to come up with this nonsense. Furious, the girl turned back toward the poor woman on the ground and started screaming, saying this was all her fault for being so stubborn. But the poor woman reminded her she agreed to cooperate the very moment Z first hit her. That made Z even more angry, and she asked why didn't she say anything earlier. I mean, obviously she gagged the poor girl. How was she supposed to talk like that? Cut a couple of minutes and the girl was back in her clothes, with the protagonist asking her if she truly possessed the ability to open a divination domain, a realm capable of perceiving all known truths across time and space. The scared girl told her she was correct about that, but the problem was she was unable to access that realm right now, since when she was locked up in here, her mana was completely drained. But that was no problem for the woman, and she signaled to Z, and the girl, without wasting any time, placed her hand on the ground. The next thing the woman noticed was a massive amount of magic energy swarming all around the room. The next second, she spun up to her feet as all that energy got absorbed into her body all at once, and she found her magical energy fully recovered. But as she turned to the two women, she heard the protagonist ordering her to open the domain. Sensing the overwhelming difference in their strength, the woman wondered who these two could be, since she could clearly feel no mana fluctuations on them. Yet with just a move, they completely refilled her mana. Since she had no other choice, she decided to do as they were telling her and activated her ability, and all three of them found themselves in a completely different dimension. As for the girl, she informed both of them that the domain was activated and now they could ask her any question they desired. But our hero cut in, telling her she was aware she could only ask 2 questions, so she got straight to the point, asking her about a password in this world made of 8 English words and uttered 4 words. 15 Pier, wheel forever, and asked if something like that existed here. The girl, using her ability, confirmed, saying they do exist. Hearing that, she asked her second question what were the last 4 words of the password in order. The girl answered that the first word was Navy, second word 12, third word 18. But just as she got to the last word, a powerful energy wave shot through the air, hitting her right in the face. This sudden attack startled Z, and she instantly got on her guard, asking who it was. From outside the domain, she saw Director Q Lee, now in her transformed state, telling Z that should be her question, and asked, "Who exactly are you two?" Cut back to Earth, outside a hospital building. Inside, a doctor lady was seen examining our hero, saying she had no mana residue. This was purely physical trauma leading to moderate concussion, but also showed surprise since she should have woken up by now. Hearing that, both girls took a sigh of relief, hearing she was out of danger. But the doctor wasn't done and asked the two if they didn't mind. There was something she wanted to ask. That surprised the girls, but they told the woman to ask away. To that, the woman, in an all-serious tone, asked what was the relationship between the 3 of them, since they clearly seemed quite worried when she was first brought in here. To that, Pinkhead told the woman she was her best friend. As for Yilin, trying to hide her emotions like always, told her she was just an ordinary co-worker. As for the doctor, hearing both their answers, she got all bubbly, realizing this was the perfect character balance, tsundere with an airhead and finally a loli. Just then, a hand landed on her shoulder, snapping her out of her fantasy world. That startled the girl as she heard a female voice asking if she was still not awake yet. Turns out it was that very same woman who was causing trouble for our hero, and this time with a broken arm, thanks to our hero tossing that massive ship on her during that incident. Seeing her standing there, the doctor asked the woman for her identity, since not anyone can enter the patient's room. And the woman introduced herself, telling them she was from Headquarters, Direct Security Division, telling both girls that being an auditing instructor was just a side job. Hearing that, Yilin realized this woman was clearly up to no good, so she told her the brat just accidentally fell. That's all, since her brain isn't very good to begin with. Knocking herself out like that isn't new, and asked why the Bureau was making such a fuss about such a trivial incident. But the woman wasn't fooled and reminded them just a fall can't collapse an entire room. Hearing that answer, Pinkhead lashed at the woman, since this clearly meant she was monitoring them. Just then, Yilin suddenly noticed one of our hero's fingers twitching, but luckily by then the woman was preparing to leave, instructing her men to keep a watch out and let her know as soon as she regained consciousness. Seeing her finally leave, Yilin gave our hero that annoyed look, since she clearly realized she was just faking it. Cut to the night, and most of the guards were fast asleep. Same thing on the inside, everyone had dozed off. That is when the window to the room suddenly opened up, and our hero, despite possessing the ability of flight, prepared to climb down the building to settle the score with the 2 girls who did this to him. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, and if you want to know what happens next, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.